Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Nice to have you in the Buffalo region. Appreciate everyone's efforts. It's been, we're now coming down the home stretch of 48 hours with us in our glorious neck of the woods. Hopefully you've all enjoyed your time and your stay. Leave a little smarter, a little wiser about all that our great region offers. And we're looking to end your stay on a real high as further inform and educate and discuss the great work that has been done here for many, many years and continues to be done, whether it be project itself, the economic impacts that we have across our region on a daily basis, in addition to the business of the day. So really appreciate the extra time, effort, and commitment to spend these couple of days with us. Obviously, we're going to hear from Brian, Rebecca, Dave. Great Canal celebration. Great first day yesterday. Kudos to both of you for launching the celebration in such a positive and enthusiastic way. Record-setting crowd and all the like. So kudos to you and your team and Ann and Keith and the organizing committee for the great work that's been done there. Speaks volumes not only of the canal system, but the attraction that Buffalo and upstate New York brings for all. Hopefully the sun will shine and your tours aren't unduly disrupted today as we pivot from summer into fall. All of that said, Justin's kind of giving me the John, hurry up and get this going. Kind of wanted to, I had a little bit of fun there. So, want to welcome officially and formally fellow trustees, B. Gonzalez, Cecily Morris, Michael Cusick, Laurie Wheelock, Lewis Warren, Dennis Trainor is graciously joining us via video. Somewhat in mourning because the Mets are collapsing, crashing, and burning. But he's still at it and with us and bringing the strong positive vibe as they come down the home stretch. Justin and many of his team are working with a little smaller group than we typically would, since the room is a little smaller than it otherwise would be in the White Plains. But appreciate everyone for making the extra effort to come here. As always, this meeting has been duly scheduled as required by open meetings law, and I'm pleased to call this joint board meeting to order. We've all had the opportunity to review the agenda in advance, and unless there's any proposed thoughts or comments on changes there too, I'd ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Laurie, thanks very much. Second, Lewis, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. As always, Karen and team have pulled us relative to any conflicts and the pending actions. If there's been any late-breaking developments, please ensure you keep her and them apprised. As I said, we've got a great agenda ahead of us. I'm very, proud and as I said, pleased to be able to have an opportunity to very publicly and directly tell the story of the Niagara project and the Buffalo Niagara region and canals and the impacts that we're having and the great work that's being done and the changes that we continue to drive for the betterment of our community. So we'll get through the customary things on the back end, but to launch and kick all that off, I'm pleased to introduce our President and CEO, Justin Driscoll.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chairman, trustees, my colleagues, members of the public. Great to be with you here at the Niagara Power Project. As the Chairman mentioned, two big themes today. One, the Canal Bicentennial Celebration and World Canals Conference that were here and were in attendance yesterday, and then the significant impact that the Power Authority has had historically on Western New York. So I hope some of you took advantage of on the canal's bicentennial celebration that kicked off earlier this year. The many celebrations that have taken place already. I'll just mention a few. The Albany Symphony Orchestra had several performances this summer along the canal, and other regional artists participated. We had the Flotsam River Circus, a non-profit puppetry, acrobatics, and dance troupe that many of you saw that traveled by raft along the canal and the Hudson River and performed free shows at 35 different locations.
I got a little choppy at times.
It was a circus. Brian and Rebecca and the team were instrumental in pulling all that together. As many of us know, yesterday we were with Governor Hochul and many of our Power Authority colleagues, trustees and members of Niagara Canal's leadership at the World Canals Conference in downtown Buffalo, bringing together people from really all over the world, canal enthusiasts from all over the world, here to celebrate the bicentennial and selected Buffalo as the location for the conference as part of that celebration. We also heard from Governor Hochul, who gave a really, I think, inspirational speech about her love of the canal and how it has influenced the development not only of the state, but really of the nation. Tomorrow, the replica of the Seneca Chief packet boat will embark from Buffalo, traveling across the state and visiting 28 canal communities with a flotilla. And I know many of us will be joining along the way, Niagara Canals, for the send-off and also for many of the stops along the way, culminating in its arrival in New York City on October 26th. So it's the right time for us to reflect on the history of the canal's importance. The construction of the canal in 1825 is one of the most transformative infrastructure projects in our country, similar really to the construction of the Niagara Power Project, which was at its time one of the largest infrastructure projects at that time. The canal, of course, linked the Great Lakes to the Atlantic Ocean via the Hudson River and really helped make New York City the chief port in the United States at the time. And let me just share a little piece of history as it relates to just how impactful the canal system was in shaping our story, our country. When the canal was built, it really created an extremely lucrative trade network in New York, really overnight, due to the many goods from Europe that flowed through the New York harbor on their way to the more inland places in the country. And at that time, because of the lucrative trade, the nation founded what was called the National Bank. But a few years later, in 1828, Andrew Jackson became president, and within his term in 1832, abolished the National Bank. And that created a bit of a financial crisis. And as part of the resolution of that crisis, the Erie Canal Fund was created at the time as essentially the collecting device for all of the tariffs and income and the fees that have been collected from Erie Canal commerce. So that Erie Canal Fund essentially replaced the financial infrastructure at the time and really solidified the whole New York banking system. So as we're here in Western New York this week, we are again reminded that the canal stands as a living testament to the enduring power of infrastructure to not only connect people, but also to drive economic progress. One final note on the canal celebration. We're very proud that there will be a full hour-long documentary in partnership with the local Albany PBS affiliate. It debuted at the conference this week, and it's highlighting some of the lesser-known history and impacts of the canal and its future, and will be airing in early October. So again, very excited about being here for the Canal Bicentennial celebration. I think it's important for us to recognize as we sit here in Western New York, the role that it played in the Great Lakes region and really throughout the country. So a little bit about the room that we're sitting in today. Moving on to the historic, more history, the historic nature.
Russell Driscoll is there, right?
Patches on television.
He also has his glasses on.
Just a moment. We're thrilled to be here in this room to participate in a board meeting here. And just as we were talking about taking a step back in time, we take a step back in time in this room as well. This originally was the Niagara Power Project's administration building. And this room, the site of many board meetings of the Power Authority trustees, was developed in 1962 as the project was being built, and was designed by what I'm told is a famous designer, Jens Riese, who was one of the first furniture designers to introduce Scandinavian design furniture to the United States. The mid-century modern style in this room was common in public buildings in the 1960s, and in our case, it's going to remain that way. And the reason why it's going to remain that way is because, as part of our federal licensing requirements here at Niagara, the New York State Office of Historic Preservation and our license requires us to maintain this room in its original state. So the first time the Power Authority Board met here was on June 27th, 1963. And the agenda that day was really not that different from our agenda today. In fact, interestingly, it had to do with power. And we were making awards. So that day, interestingly, on the agenda that day, the board approved an allocation to Mo, which is still a customer on that first board meeting here in this room. A little bit about that company. From those three founders in East Aurora, New York, in 1963, the company has grown to 13,500 employees in 25 countries with 95 locations worldwide, including supporting more than 3,500 jobs right here in Western New York, with a current commitment to add 500 more jobs here. So this is a great example, and wonderful for us to see that more than 6 decades later, a business relationship like this can trace its roots back to this room and is still going strong. And it's a good reminder that of the lasting impact that our work can have, not only on companies, but on communities in which they operate. So from the Niagara River views to this historic room, to our celebrations at Canal side and our strong relationship with decades-long customers like Mo, we have several reasons why today's meeting means so much to the Power Authority and the Canal Corporation. In addition to Mo, our customers in Western New York are making a clear economic impact thanks to NYPA's unique economic development programs. And in that regard, if I could mention a few of the numbers, if you include all of our economic development programs that support this region, NYPA has grown the programs in the following ways: more than 240 economic development customers, 550 megawatts of power awarded, $53 million in NYPA funding has been dispersed, 49,000 jobs committed, and $6 billion in private capital investments. And all of that is a direct result of the Power Authority's low-cost hydropower supporting Western New York, the Western New York economy from this project and others. One of the great examples of this work has been our commitment to Buffalo's beautiful Canal side development, where many of us have spent some time over the last several days. Canal side, as we know, is located at the terminus of the 1825 Erie Canal and has flourished as a destination for events and public activity. And of course, NYPA has played a major role in the Canal side revitalization by committing roughly $155 million to the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation as part of our relicensing payments that I referred to earlier. And that money was crucial, of course, to the evolution of Canal Side, which has become such a wonderful destination in Western New York. Also, in downtown Buffalo, our Power Proceeds Board recently recommended a $2.3 million Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy Award to be put toward the $11.7 million Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Centennial Park. And in fact, this allocation is on today's agenda for your consideration. So moving on to a couple of updates. As I typically do, I'd like to update you briefly on our progress on renewables. After your approval to move forward with the draft updated strategic plan at our last meeting in July, we've held now 2 virtual public hearings on our draft updated plan during the 45-day public comment period. And while the law only required or called for a 30-day comment period with 1 public hearing, we felt it was important to give the public more time and opportunities to provide their feedback. So we conducted those hearings, which featured 66 speakers and had more than 300 live viewers. And we received more than 6,000 passionate New York comments from New Yorkers passionate about their energy future, and submitted public comments during this period to share their thoughts with us on our newly created public comment portal, which allowed individuals to actually track the number of comments that have been submitted.
We distinguish between live viewers and
live views, I guess, during the public hearing itself.
Live viewers. Professor just trying to make sure.
That's okay.
I was trying to work with you.
So we've already begun looking at those comments, which will be included in the proposal we plan to bring back to you in December for the finalization of that amended plan. And we're actually, many New Yorkers are encouraged by the fact that we've doubled the potential capacity, as you know, from our inaugural plan, and folks are really encouraging us to do everything we can to grow the capacity of the plan even further. Many voiced concerns about some of the projects included in the plan, and we're certainly going to be taking those points into consideration as we revise the draft plan to bring back that final plan to you for your approval, as I said, in December. And I want to make it clear here that despite mounting challenges to renewable development, especially regarding changes in federal policy and increasing supply chain pressures, NYPA remains strongly committed to supporting the state and our clean energy goals. Another new engagement for us at the Power Authority is our recently announced effort to lead the development of advanced nuclear technology in the state to address the forecasted growth in energy demand and meeting that demand with clean power. So we're continuing to push forward on this direction from the governor to build at least 1 gigawatt of advanced nuclear power in upstate New York. And most notably, we recently hosted a nuclear workforce roundtable at Governor Hochul's office in Manhattan on September 4. And in addition to the governor and her team, the event included contributions from leaders across industries, including the building and construction trades, the IBEW and IUNA, SUNY and RPI, the Nuclear Energy Institute, and our friends across the border at Ontario PowerGen that are also engaged in these efforts, as well as state agencies, including the Department of Labor and the Department of Public Service and NYSERDA. These leaders from across New York, the US, and Canada collaborated on ideas to grow the nuclear workforce and opportunities to accelerate training and apprenticeship programs to support the expected expansion of jobs and multi-generational careers in advanced nuclear. We've had some important takeaways from that roundtable, including we have a better understanding now that nuclear workforce investment is a marathon, not a sprint, that it's essential to engage local communities and labor to build strong, lasting relationships, that we must clearly communicate that these jobs are coming and will be here to stay. And we're talking about long-term generational employment with good paying local jobs, and that this is a multi-stakeholder effort and that partnerships will be key to our success, whether it's a consortium of states that have been first movers industry peers who have been down this path, or academia providing everything from insights to apprenticeships and training. So Governor Hochul has charted a course for the future of clean energy here, and NIPA is committed to being a leader in these efforts. We're going to quickly build on the momentum from the first roundtable, and we'll follow up with follow-up meetings and more cross-industry events as we continue to make progress in hiring in preparation for our upcoming solicitations for technology and siting. So there's a lot going on here at the Power Authority. Speaking for the entire management team here with you today, we're all very excited about this work. We're thrilled to be playing a leading role, and we're also committed to finishing 2025 strongly. So with that, I'll stop and take any questions.
Thoughts, comments? Pete?
I just wanted to kind of reinforce the idea of a strong articulation across New York State's educational system for the nuclear, to prepare our workforce as we build the nuclear plants in New York. And we have the system, we have P-Tech all the way to higher ed, and to leverage that as much as possible to have positive impact and create transformational opportunities for people who have been left out of these systems in the past. It's an opportunity, and I know we'll take it, and I'm looking forward to it.
No, I agree. I think one of the from the work that we already have underway on the renewables front, right? We're a full year into that effort, and some of the same principles that we bring to that engagement and that work, I think we'll be able to apply to the nuclear workforce as well.
Justin, on behalf of our trustees here, we just wanted to thank you and your team for such an amazing welcome to Western New York. It's good. I appreciate your historic comments, because the transformational impacts of building the Erie canals. We spent 2 days in and around the canals and hearing about waterworks projects across the world. But the Erie Canal, the Power Authority, Niagara hydro facility just drives home, and I'll pick up B's comments a second. It drives home the transformational impacts on giving people, the workforce, opportunities to work, great paying jobs. It's the next iteration. So whether clean energy, renewables, the upgrades that we in the state, and Joe, you and your teams are doing at Niagara, we had a chance to tour and visit. It's as impressive and transformational as literally anything else going on in the country. So I on behalf of the trustees, want to thank you for your hospitality, organizing a board meeting, John, organizing a board meeting in beautiful Buffalo. But with the governor's comments yesterday, your comments this morning, it's truly impressive when we all work together in a spirit of partnership, investments, transformation, what we can do as New Yorkers.
Thank you, Trustee Laurie.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just before we, not to lose you, but before you step away, a little more on renewables. I mean, obviously the landscape has shifted dramatically from a year ago when it first started. Maybe talk a little bit more about your view from your seat as our leader as to the renewables game plan and how we lean into that, and some of the pushing and the pulling that we took a year ago and where we are today, and how we're going to thread the needle and continue to have real impact and lead the pack there.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the big focus right now, and I think you've heard this from some of the other members of the team, is we're looking to identify the projects that we can pull forward rapidly to safe harbor those projects to take advantage of some of the expiring tax credits. And we've identified a number of projects that are good candidates to pull forward. So that's one piece. The other piece is, as we know, the storage credits are not going away anytime soon. They're going to be around until 2033. So maybe a little bit of a pivot. We'll see more storage in the updated strategic plans, a little bit more of a pivot towards storage, because those projects will have the benefit of those tax credits until 2033. and just continuing to identify new projects. As we've talked to you in the past, this is sort of a multi-pronged effort here. We've got utility scale solar projects and wind projects. We're exploring more battery storage, but we're also looking for new projects in communities that can potentially, as I like to say, benefit a community where they can feel like and see the project that they're benefiting from, and looking for projects that we can potentially support in terms of getting the REACH program funded, so that we can provide those bill credits to disadvantaged communities. And as we talked to you previously, we do have a budgetary item from this year's budget, where we've been allocated $200 million toward our renewables efforts. So the team is hard at work in identifying the best use cases for that funding.
And probably poor metaphor, but our foot, we've got our foot on the gas. I mean, we're going full steam in it, right? I mean, absolutely. So, okay. Anything else for Justin? Well, thanks for great starting at Lewis this point.
Yeah.
Kudos to you and the team for a great job bringing the show on the road and showcasing who we are and all that we are here in the Buffalo Niagara region.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right, and building on that and pivoting a bit to more of the story of the mighty Niagara. Joe Kessler is going to kick us off, and Jairo and Maribel will tag team it with them here and talk a little bit more.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you, and good morning, everyone, trustees, colleagues, members of the public. We're here today on behalf of operations. I want to welcome you to the Niagara Power Project. And I think today I have the easiest job of everybody, because the place I grew up in, the New York Power Authority. I love talking about it, but I can't steal any thunder. I'm going to have Jairo and Maribel come and talk about the benefits of this plan to Western New York and the state at large. And then, of course, we'll turn it over to the Canal team, Brian, Rebecca, and Dave, to talk about that coming up. So, special thank you to Jairo for hosting us here today. He is the senior vice president and the regional manager. This is his house, as I say. So he graciously hosting us in his facility today. So we will focus, since we're here, on the Niagara Power Project and plant. And we'll highlight the New York State Canals Corporation, as I said, because we are in the midst of the World's Canals Conference, hosting that in Buffalo, New York. And the bicentennial celebrations are well underway, as Justin talked about. So before I turn it over to kind of this Western New York and canal-centric topic, I just want to make sure and assure everybody the rest of the fleet is doing well too. So we have no major operational issues. We did have some summer heat waves. Anyone who was here for the governor's announcement on nuclear will remember it got hot this summer. And we were there. And I won't steal any of Adam's thunder, but it'll show up there. The plants were ready. The staff had all the maintenance done. And when called upon, this plant and all the plants across the fleet were very effective. We also are preparing now for fall outages. You may know that the milder shoulder months are the months that we take advantage of the system to do major maintenance on certain equipment to make sure it's ready for the winter peaking season. So a lot of that is underway. Flint is under outage starting today, as a matter of fact, for one of those outages. And as we're doing our day-to-day business, we do get checked out by a lot of our regulators and people who are interested in our performance. So we did have the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission FERC do a security program audit under Larry Mallory's support. And we had some recommendations there, but no major findings. And actually, we're a lot of kudos from them on our performance and security. And Northeast Public Power Coordinating Council, UPC, is our regulator for NERC standards. They were here for a major audit as well. And again, no major findings. It's one of our priorities is keeping technical compliance and making sure we're doing the right thing by those standards. So if you just go to the next slide, this is just our team that puts together my presentation. We have one slide for me. The mighty power of Niagara has been harnessed for the public good. It just seemed to resonate with all of us as just the theme that we want to convey for the next couple of presenters. We recognize and I would say embrace the role we have as being stewards of this asset and all the assets across the state. for the benefit of everybody in the state. So we're very proud of that. And with that, unless there's no questions, I'll turn it over to Jairo.
Okay, Jairo, podium is yours.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for having us to your house.
Thank you for coming here. Good morning, trustees. Good morning, Niagara colleagues, members of the public. Very excited to be here today. Welcome to our home, the Niagara Power Project. My name is Jairo Florez. I am the regional manager for the Western New York region. I moved here about 2 years ago in September. I moved my family about a day before I started my first day of work here at the plant, so it was pretty exciting. One of the things that I remember with one of my more fond memories at the time was when on the first day at the Power Vista, I met Daniela Pfeiffer, the former regional manager for the Western New York region, and the hats were meeting that day. And I will talk a little bit about that. And this is the group that actually built the plans, and they were there, and it was interesting to hear the stories, and it was very, very touching. And made that connection to the past and the building of the plant as an engineer. I found that fascinating. To me, that day, it was, kind of like a sign of a message to say, okay, I'm here. We have to make a difference while we're running this region. And that basically started the journey for me. So it's been 2 exciting 2 years. And I have to full disclaimer, I'm not a good historian. I'm an electrical engineer, but I will do the best that I can to go through So there was the Miami Niagara River. There were many attempts in the past to be able to harness the power of the hydraulics. Early 1800s, there were many attempts to actually bring that hydraulic energy to move machinery. At the time, they started doing hydraulic mills, moving belts and moving these mills. But the company that was actually successful to be the first time energy in 1882 was the Niagara Falls Hydraulic Power and Manufacturing Company from Niagara Falls. So years later, in the 1800s, that's when the first power generation happened. And that was basically on there was a power plant that was built in several stages. It took multiple years to build about 3 sections of the what was known as the Shuttlecock power plant. The history or the story of this Niagara Falls hydraulic power was a happy ending. It ended up in the hands of National Grid in 2002. After it became the Niagara Mohawk, and it was purchased by Niagara by National Grid. However, the story for the Shuttlecock power plant wasn't of a happy ending. In 1956, tragedy hit that power plant. There was a water seepage that created a rock slide. Water is great when you control it, not when it's uncontrolled power plants. They created a rock slide, and it destroyed 2/3 of that plant. Unfortunately, it resulted in the loss of life of one of the workers and multiple injuries for some of the workers as well. So this plant was producing at the time 400 megawatts of power, and it was in the midst of the summer. As you can imagine, 400 megawatts in that time to go away in the blink of an eye, that was a big crisis. It created a big energy crisis related to the jobs, the industrial customers at the time. So something had to be done and had to be done quick. So the Niagara, basically, the NIPA came. It was embedded in the DNA of NIPA at the time to make big things happen. NIPA came, and he was given the task to build the Niagara Power Project at the time. So the construction, NIPA was building the St. Lawrence Power Project from 54 to 58 roughly. And then the construction of the Niagara Project started in 1958, and it was completed in record time, 3 years. When you think about the size of the project, some of the trustees were with us on Sunday taking a tour. And it's pretty hard to make justice to the magnificent structures that we have here in the Niagara Power Project, when you look at the pictures, but when you are actually standing in front of this engineering marvel, it's really eye-opening. So this, to create this project in 3 years, it was at a time unheard of. The amount of people that was required, about 11,700 workers came together to build this project in record time, 3 years. We couldn't do that today, not for a project of this size. And that project at the time became the largest project of the Western region at the time. So it was an amazing feat of engineering. Unfortunately, there was 20 casualties during the construction, which is always a good reminder for us when we run these power plants on the dangers of the work that we do. And a good reminder for us to make sure that we keep all people safe. In this picture that you can see here in the presentation, you can see the original landscaping of the time. That point was strategically chosen because it was the highest part of the gorge, and it will give enough head or distance between the upper part and the turbines to generate power. Right in the middle, you can see the scars in the rock bed. So the structure of the region here where the plant was built was a lot of sediment rock, limestone, goldstone, and that rock was pretty hard to actually work on. So they used a lot of blasting at the time, dynamite, many amounts of dynamite at the time to blast and carve. Actually, all the waterworks, the conduits, everything that had to be done in the middle. You can see from the picture in the middle how they were actually carving into the rock to actually do the work of the plant. The intakes, which pretty much is a conduit that brings the water from the river to the plant, it was about a little bit over 4 miles. That whole section, that whole area was rock. It was limestone. So the whole thing had to be drilled, and it had to be basically blasted using explosives to be able to carve and put the intake structures in place. In the last in 61, that was when the first power generation occurred. You can see the final result, the picture there. So let's look at the project in 3 phases: the past, the present, and the future. Right now, I'm talking about the past, but the project came to the rescue and created this amazing engineering marvel. Now let's tie the past to the present in the next slide, please. So August of 2025, this year, the Hats visited us again. They came to the power grid. They started gathering around 2007. So they have been involved with the project, and they still come today to every year it is less and less of them. Many of them started when they were 18, 20 years old. Some of them were veterans that went through many hardships, the World War II, Korean War, the Great Depression, and they came and built this in 3 years. It's great to see when you hear the stories and when you hear the passion and the pride that it takes for them to actually do that work. It's almost like having a veterans meeting. They are extremely proud of what they accomplished, and they still keep connected. So we're lucky. I feel lucky that I was able to meet them, and I was lucky that I was able to hear the stories from them when they were building the project. Ken, one of the, he was a timekeeper. He's the one that organized the entire thing. Only when we meet here at the Power Vista, we talk about the 20 people that lost their lives during the construction of the project. There was a lot of rock job related accidents, whether it was with cranes, poles at the time. If OSHA wasn't really dictating how the work was done. One thing, just a personal touch that I want to basically talk about is that there is a connection in one of these workers that lost his life. He was 84. His name was Tim Marney. It was related to Trustee Morris. And I wanted just to mention that. I asked Trustee Morris if I was okay to mention that. So there is a connection there to somebody who is here in the room. Who was deeply touched by the laws at the time. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you for allowing me to do that. Let's move on, please. So that brings us to the present. I'm going to give you like a really high-level, non-engineering description of the project. The project consists of two power plants. The uniqueness of these two power plants, there is a difference between the two. The one can actually generate power and pump water to the upper reservoir. So you can actually work the units in two directions. It comes in handy when we talk about how the project is fed by the water fuel. So we have the intakes that they are located on the north end of the Niagara River, about 2 miles upstream from the falls. That intake brings the water inside the core bay that you see on the picture, so to feed the Robert Moses plant. When the 1953 was signed, it was required to preserve the beauty of the falls. So the Niagara River wasn't to be impounded or crossed by a dam, but instead it was water diversion at the time was basically what was chosen as far as feeding these power plants. The Sierra Beck OPG plant was already built at the time. That was built in 1954, and then when Niagara came, the water was basically split during that treaty. So what the treaty dictates is the river in a given day, you take average of 200 cubic feet per second. Okay, so just to give you some idea of what a cubic feet we're looking water, just into a basketball full of water. That's 1 cubic feet. 200,000 of those flow through the Niagara River every second. So the idea was to split during tourist season during the day, 100,000 of those cubic feet will go over the falls. And the remainder gets split 50-50 between OPG or our Canadian counterparts and Nikon. So we take that water and we make power. At times during the night, things change. So you require only to pass 50,000 cubic feet per second over the falls. So you have more water available. So at the time you start, okay, if we're going to have more water available and there is less demand of energy, we need to create a battery. And that's what that that reservoir is like right there. It can store up to 20 billion gallons of water. Just think about the amount of water, to put it in perspective, you can fill about 30,000 Olympic-sized swimming pools with the amount of water that reservoir can hold. So the idea is we reverse the generators on the Lewiston pump generating plant that you see on the top. We have 12 units there, about 25 megawatts apiece. We reverse the generator, we pump the water. And during the day, when the demand is high and we need the water, we reverse the generators again. We generate at the Lewiston pump plant, and we also generate at the Robert Moses. So the Robert Moses is generating all the time, but we use more or less water depending on how the water is distributed at the time. In the picture, you can also see the switchyard. Think of the switchyard like a train station. Basically, that's where all the power comes in, and we basically from there directed where to go. That's pretty much the switchyard. The campus, basically, one of the beauties and the challenges that we're located right in the middle of the community, right? We have the Niagara University right next to it, just behind my office. You can see it there from my office. And it's spread out. And we have to actually maneuver and make sure that we have a responsible operation of the facility. Those are the major components. We can provide 2.6 gigawatts of power. That's a lot of power that comes out of this facility. Just to give you a perspective, we could feed about 2 million homes with the power that is generated in a given time here at the Niagara Power Plant. That's fascinating. Next one, please. it's not just power, what we do here. And for me as an engineer, I think one of the biggest and most proud moments is when you can realize the impact that you do in the community with the engineering work that we do. The relicensing for the Niagara project started in 2007, or it was completed in 2007. Basically created several commitments for the community, investing up to 1 billion. Excuse me. $1 billion in investment and 32 megawatts. There are multiple entities that are benefit from the licensing commitments of the Niagara Power Project. Just to mention some, we committed 28 megawatts for the host communities, Niagara Falls, Niagara University, Cusco Nation. Besides the also monetary funding, like one example, 450 million for the Niagara River Greenway path. So there is multiple examples, and I will spend a lot of time talking about it, but there is three things that I would like to mention that actually touch me and I've been able to participate on. The Northland Workforce Development Center. I was lucky enough to be on the day when the Autotech program was launched. So we were part of that. NICO was part of funding 15 million to create that center. And we also donated through the Power Proceeds funding over $1 million to actually make that happen, plus an EV vehicle. So we have partnered with our EJ workers to actually bring different benefits to the community, whether it is with the indoor food processing facilities, which was fascinating. I was able to look at that too. Or the Tuskegee Nation, when we actually did the work with the HVAC and the water treatment plant. So when you go there and you are able to see the people, the community that is touched by what we do, everything starts taking shape and it starts taking body. So there is so many things that we can do, and we will continue doing. Because of that, if we go to the next slide, we need to keep this place going. Over 60 years old, things start aging and wearing out. So we need to make sure that we continue to have this place for next generations to come. Right now, we have embarked in a project we call Next Gen Niagara. Some of the trustees were able to see the work that we are doing in Unit 6, the first unit that we are making a major overhaul. So there are multiple things that we're doing to make sure that we ensure the longevity of this plant. I can mention that by the end of this year, Unit 6 will be completed on both controls and mechanical upgrades. The unit will be good to go. We have worked on control systems for another unit that is completed as well, but this is pending on mechanical upgrades. If you see that red structure there in the picture, that's the 630-ton crane. That crane is essential for the operation of the facility. That crane is the tool that allows us to lift really heavy components like the rotor, the stator, all the electrical heavy components, and to make sure that we are able to repair the unit. So we are actually in the midst now of rebuilding that crane. It will be done next year. There is other things that are going on the NGN program. The bench stocks, when we were looking, if you look at that picture there on the base of the concrete there is a 24 feet in diameter pipe that runs through the concrete structure, bringing the water to drive the units and generate power. Those need to be inspected. They are over 60 years old. We need to look at them, put eyes on it, and make sure that they are okay. So that for that, we created a platform that is going to allow our people to safely get in and take a look and make sure that things are fine. There is other things that we're doing. Completed the control room, basically the brain of the plant that's being upgraded. We were able to take a look on Sunday. We were able to actually complete that work and put in state-of-the-art screens and monitoring for the operators that are actually 24/7 here at the plant running the facility. There is other work that is going on as well along the NGN projects. If you look at the road on top of the Robert Moses facility there, that road is supported by a concrete structure that is deteriorating. At this point, we're going to have to go and do something about it. Otherwise, we're going to have to shut down that road. So we're working on a project to replace that structure. There is a lot of water that is seeping through and just basically damaging our electrical equipment. So we need to do something about that. The switch R has also undertaking work. We need to make sure that electrical components are overhauled, replaced, repaired, and to make sure that power can go where it's needed. And just basically at this point, finalizing the things. I think that's the major highlight for that. There is a lot of work going on. We have done a lot for the community, and we want to keep doing that. And we appreciate the support that everyone is putting in order for us to fulfill that mission. Really excited to be here. I know Maribel is going to talk about the customer side. So we do have the impact that we do, that our license allows us to do in the community, but it's also what we do for our customers, where we actually, we're looking at jobs. And when you look at jobs, not only the ones that we provide with the facility, but the ones that we provide in the region, it's really touching. Extremely excited to be here. Thank you for coming to our home. I want to thank everybody that put this together. This is exciting. Thank you for having me. Any questions?
Yeah, questions for Jairo. I know you guys all had a good chance on Sunday to have a good conversation and the like, but with the benefit of that recap, and just an incredible facility, investment, operation, level of sophistication, level of support is mind-boggling. But best kept secret in Western New York for sure.
It's mind-boggling when you say this was started in 1958.
Yeah.
And it's viable and magnificent. I wrote the word down when Jairo used it because it's magnificent. It's really overwhelming almost. It's a modern marvel at the time that continues to be a modern. It's quite impressive.
And Cecily, I was just going to say that we absolutely have to thank all of your employees, the union employees there who are doing just. When you're down below the facility, as we had a chance to do, there's challenging work conditions at times because it's warmer, enclosed spaces. So all of these incredible engineers, mechanics, construction workers, union workers who are doing just God's work is just well appreciated.
The Power Vista and the visiting station that the public sees is kind of a Disneyfied experience. No appreciation for.
Well, thank you for the tour on Sunday, because it was truly an eye opener for all of us, and it's easier to make votes on issues here at the boardroom when we see what's actually happening. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was an amazing time, and again, you're looking at all the work that's happening. You're looking at the crane, and then you look down at the water, and there's an access point, and the community is fishing, and there's all ages and families, and it's so exciting to see that point with the community while all this work is happening at the same time. So again, it's just very well thought of between the work we do, but also the community aspect.
And thank you for your leadership. We're thrilled you've made the commitment to Western New York, the latest in a series of strong leaders that we've had here. So we're thrilled to have you here and applaud the commitment, the passion you bring, and the tone you set, for the team that is critical to ensuring and perpetuating the success we're having. So thanks for your time and effort to organize, and thank you for your time today.
John, just one last comment.
Yep.
The enthusiasm of Joe, Chris, Jairo, everybody involved in the tour, their enthusiasm was contagious. They love what they do.
Right.
Their industrial knowledge is
World class,
and it shows, and it's contagious, and we applaud them.
And world class, as I already mentioned, economic impact. I mean, we're in the economic development business. And people always come to us with their hand out, but times of thank yous are fewer and further between. But to ensure we get a little better understanding and more complete focus on the impact we are having in jobs and how we're making a real difference, we'll pass the podium off to Maribel.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Aaron.
For that inspirational overview of the inception and legacy of the Niagara Power Project and the tremendous effort it took to get there. I've been at NIPA a few decades myself, and I'm still inspired when I hear about all the work that has happened and is looking forward to all the partnership moving forward. So previous chairman, trustees, Justin, NIPA colleagues, members of the public, I'm equally as excited to add on to Justin, Joe, and Jairo's narrative of how the Niagara Power Project is so impactful to all of the New York State. The slide that you see in front of you showcases not only the benefits that Justin spoke about in the Western New York region, but actually how we are impacting lives and businesses and setting up economic success all over New York State. It was mentioned that the capacity of the Niagara Power Project is 2,675 megawatts. I'm incredibly proud to state that by statute, over 1,900 of those megawatts are directly dedicated to customer programs, and 94% of that is already in service being used by customers. The hydropower from the Niagara Power Project is a cornerstone of economic growth and environmental stewardship in our community. We do see it as the jewel that fuels economic growth in communities. And from the customer solutions perspective, we are more than proud to state that we have been serving some of these customers for more than 6 decades. This map represents over 1,000 customers who directly benefit from the hydropower. Each dot on this map represents businesses or municipal power systems or host communities, whether they're manufacturing fresh or frozen food, chemicals, glass, dairy products, or other goods and services. These entities are competing very well in their industries, and that is a direct result of Niagara's hydropower. This clean and renewable energy source not only helps to reduce their operational costs through lower electricity rates, but also supports their corporate sustainability goals by minimizing their carbon footprint. The reliable and consistent power supply bolsters their productivity and competitiveness, attracting further investment and fostering job creation in the region. Now, you may recall that after our board meetings, we do state the latest numbers in economic development. We're very proud that we serve close to support the creation and retention of close to 450,000 jobs and $55 billion in capital investment. I'm very proud to say that 50% of that is a direct impact of the Niagara Power Project.
They should really repeat those numbers. They're staggering.
It's something that makes us smile every day, and at the same time, we know that we have to continue to work hard to maintain it and enhance it. Right? We want to repeat that New York State is open for business. We see a continuous flow of applications from businesses not only across the nation but globally that express interest in locating into New York State, and we're very proud to see that stay as healthy as it has been. So on the right-hand side, you'll see a list of some of the distinct customer segments that we serve, starting with expansion power, replacement power, otherwise known as Western New York Public Power. 581 megawatts of that 695 megawatts that has been established is allocated in the service, so we have some power there to distribute. Our Recharge New York Power Program, which is our statewide program, enables not only large manufacturing business, but also small businesses, small mom and pop shops across the entire state to be able to benefit from low-cost hydropower and grow their businesses and provide jobs in their local communities. And the Western New York Economic Development Fund is not a power program, but it is a grant program that has been established through the sale of of hydropower that has not yet been taken down by businesses because they're still building their facilities or they're in the middle of commissioning their plants. So we have established that grant program to enable investment in 6 tracks that I will be going over in the next slide. So as I mentioned, about 50% of our capital investment and job creation comes from the Niagara Power Plant. But just for a little bit of context, just want to give you a few examples of the businesses that we serve. Whether you're having your morning yogurt that is made by Chobani, whether you're walking through the cereal aisle and you're picking out your General Mills cereal, or whether you're writing on a Post-it note that's made by 3M, or you're taping up your holiday presents. These are businesses that we serve. We think about that very often as we're purchasing things, right? Like, was it made in New York State, and is it supported by NIPA and all the great folks that are at our power plants? The hydropower is also providing low-cost preference rates to our 51 municipal and rural electric cooperative systems. In addition, host communities and 7 neighboring states' customers. So talking about our munis and co-ops, these 51 public power systems are focused on quality delivery of clean power, and we are proud to serve them as they themselves continue to innovate and support a clean, reliable grid. I mentioned our host communities, and these are surrounding communities where NIPA's assets are located. We meet regularly with them and have been engaged in energy efficiency and sustainability projects. An example of these are Niagara County, Town of Lewiston, City of Niagara Falls, Town of Niagara, Niagara Falls City School District, Lewiston Partners Central School District, the Tuscarora Nation, and Niagara University. And then an example of some of our neighboring states, which we have an agreed upon partnership for New York State's share of the Great Lakes water. We do serve power to Ohio, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and a few others. So as mentioned, we are excited to share some of the direct benefits to New York State businesses and other customer segments. And we will continue to administer these programs as we have been chartered by our statute and our legislation. We look forward to supporting new businesses in the state as well as the expansion of our existing customers. Next slide, please. Oh, great. Perfect. I mentioned briefly our Western New York Economic Development Fund, which is also referred to as Western New York Power Proceeds. To share a brief history, over the course of 13 years, our Board of Trustees have approved 75 projects to eligible entities totaling support of $65 million. Justin shared a little bit about this project, but before I go into these details, I just want to remind everyone that there are 6 project funding tracks. The first is business investment. Second is infrastructure and downtown investment. We have innovation and entrepreneur development, workforce development, tourism marketing, and agricultural investment. A program that is dedicated to the Western New York region across many different industries, and we've seen tremendous success there. This program was stood up and managed since inception by passionate local community members like Rich Smith, and it's managed by Angela Rossi. Just want to call out Rich Smith, who will be retiring this week from NIPA, so I'm going to give him thanks for what he has done. And then, as mentioned by Justin, we have 3 recommendations for the Western New York Power Proceeds. One for Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy, Shays O'Connell Preservation Guide, which is our largest Power Proceeds award to date, and Buffalo Society of Natural Sciences. So the Ralph Wilson Park Conservancy, a nonprofit organization created to work in partnership with the city of Buffalo to operate, maintain, and promote the use of Ralph Wilson Park, a 100-acre park formerly known as LaSalle Park, is advancing to the next phase of redevelopment. And this redevelopment is upwards of $200 million. This Western New York Proceeds Award for $2.3 million will support the construction of an 11.6 million, 10,000 square foot multi-use facility. The building will provide administrative, security, and other operational support functions to manage the park. It will tentatively start in late 2025 and is targeted for completion in spring of 2028. Now, our teams will continue to work cross-collaboratively, internally and externally, not only with our key account management group, our environmental justice group, legal, community affairs, to continue to find new opportunities, new businesses to support, but we'll continue to work with other community advocates to make sure that these grant funds are awarded and continue to make a benefit in the region. So thank you for the time to be able to share some of these highlights with you.
No, I appreciate your efforts to do that, Maribel. Again, incredible impact that you and your team deliver, across our community, across the state, but really, for our community as well. Appreciate the opportunity for you to have a bit of a megaphone to, amplify that for, all to hear. So very, very well done. Any questions for Maribel? Don't reference Chase project, huge for downtown Buffalo. You're all just there. Major expansion. I think it's $30 million project. They expand Chase, major tourism draw and economic driver for downtown Buffalo. So support there. So appreciate all that as well. So great work.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. As has been referenced multiple times, the impetus for all of us being here was the Canal's World Conference and celebration. Extra opportunity to one more time put the spotlight on our own canal system. So we have Brian, Rebecca, and Dave to talk to us a little bit there. Brian, kick us off, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Chairman, Board of Trustees, EMC members, Canal and Niagara colleagues, members of the public, and members of Governor Hochul's Environmental Energy Team. On behalf of all of us at the Canal Corporation, especially Rebecca and Dave, who we will hear from shortly, it is a special opportunity and an historic one to be here with you in Western New York. As we are in this historic building, and of course, as we commemorate the bicentennial of the Erie Canal. As many of you know, and you learned during the World Canals Conference yesterday and during last night's reception and keynote address at the Statler Hotel, we have welcomed a robust audience of more than 475 delegates from 10 countries and 22 U.S. states this week to New York State, Erie County, and the great state of Buffalo. Yesterday, we heard from keynote remarks from two outstanding speakers, Scottish Canal CEO Richard Millar, and last night from iconic and international disability rights advocate Haben German. And of course, a truly passionate welcome yesterday message from Governor Hochul. I hope you are feeling as energized and as inspired as all of us are. As we are convened today, those 475 delegates are out attending 4 individual field sessions, ranging from Canada to Rochester. They are experiencing firsthand the vitality of the Erie Canal, seeing accessible recreation, viewing both new and historic infrastructure, and of course enjoying Western New York, seeing hospitality and much more. Tomorrow, day 4 of the conference, we will gather at Canal side. Next slide, please. For the you want to keep it there. I'm sorry, back up. We will during day 4 of the conference, we will gather at Canal side for the send-off of the Erie Canal boat Seneca Sheep as it departs on the 28-stop voyage, community voyage from Buffalo to New York City, reprising Governor DeWitt Clinton's historic journey that was begun from the same spot on October 26, 1825. That is an 8:30 ceremony, and many of us will be going down there early to get a head start on what is expected to be a very enthusiastic crowd. Now we go to this slide by Centennial highlights. It's been an absolutely thrilling year for all of us at the Canal Corporation, Niagara, and for Erie Canal enthusiasts everywhere, working with Governor Hochul, the first gentleman and members of the governor's bicentennial commission. The energy and the Erie Canal bicentennial is moving ahead at full steam and at full throttle. We have partnered with the New York Lottery to roll out the Erie Canal $1 million raffle. Now, I want you to understand that there are still tickets available, and while I am not eligible to participate, I think some of you might be. And this gives the chance to 15 lucky winners to become millionaires. Tickets are still available, and if all are sold by the time the drawing takes place on October 26th, $21 million will be generated to support the New York State public education. As you know, Governor Hochul is one of the strongest advocates and one of the best customers, certainly demonstrated by her passionate speech yesterday and by her appreciation of the Erie Canal shown earlier this summer when she welcomed cabinet members for a cruise along the Erie Canal on the same boat, Chairman, that the trustees joined us on in September of last year. Is the sand patch operated by the nonprofit Cornhill Navigation. She even took time to take the helm for a brief period of time. We know the governor is hands-on. She likes to be in control, and she certainly showed that. In partnership with the Albany Symphony Orchestra, as Justin has already noted, we've had a series of concerts over the summer featuring 5 new composers at both day-long festivals and canal site concerts across the system. Each concert featured new compositions on topics ranging from immigration, the environment, indigenous perspectives, women's suffrage, and the Underground Railroad. Lastly, there is a new canal exhibit lining the highly trafficked tunnel that connects the New York State Capitol to the Legislative Office Building, and you can see firsthand throughout the year, showing all of the exciting elements of our New York State canal system. And Trustee Cusick, I'm sure, has traveled that hallway countless times. So you know that people love to look at that hallway and learn as they go about their business between the Legislative Office Building and the State Capitol. We look forward to getting exceptional exposure to the impact of the New York State canal system. Through that exhibit will continue through the end of the year. Next slide, please. As mentioned earlier, tomorrow the Erie Canal Low Seneca Chief, a volunteer-built replica of the boat Governor DeWitt Clinton took from Buffalo to New York City in 1825, will depart from Canal side. The Seneca Chief will make 28 stops along its voyage and arrive at Pier 26 in Manhattan, Hudson River Park, on Sunday, October 26, 200 years to the day when Governor DeWitt Clinton first opened the Erie Canal in 1825. We will have a special ceremony there. It is on Governor Hochul's calendar, and our fingers are crossed that she is going to continue to dare to be with us as the governor of our state 200 years later. The West Point Band will perform just as it did for Governor DeWitt Clinton in 1825 and his flotilla. And finally, on the next day, Monday, October 27th, in partner with College and the New York State Archives Partnership Trust, we will host a panel discussion at the Roosevelt House Public Policy Institute. First Gentleman Bill Hochul will provide welcoming remarks on behalf of Governor Hochul and the Erie Canal Bicentennial Commission, and then leading historians and economists, including Harold Fulzer, Dr. Jennifer Burns, Brad Utter, and Mitchell Moss, will discuss the impact of the construction on New York City as a global trade center and economic center. So we hope all of you will plan to join us. Invitations for that will be coming out soon. And we are very excited to continue and we can roll in House conference through Thursday. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much, Brian, as it's all stated. Thank you for your leadership and coordinating the conference, and thrilled to see it off to such a great start, and know you'll bring it home, and have a wonderful couple of days to wrap it up.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, as Rebecca moves to the podium, Maribel reminds me, have Angela reach out to the people in the Statler, this third meeting for a lighting project. Rebecca gave one of the best intros that no one saw from the stage at the Statler. So the Statler team, they definitely need some help with lighting, and I think that's in our bailiwick. So yeah, there's a lot of mystique there for sure. Glad you're out of the shadows this morning. And we look forward to your update and report.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members of the board, colleagues, members of the public. Go Bills. I was instructed by the governor to open close with that, of course. So, of course, we're gathered here in Buffalo, experiencing Western New York in large part because of our 200th birthday. And as much as the bicentennial is about looking back at our history and all of the ripple effects of the construction of the canal, I think it's just as much for me about looking forward and contemplating what does that third century look like. So this morning, I'm just going to provide a few updates on our more forward-looking initiatives. As we heard from our inspiring and really impressive keynote speaker, Haben Gurma, the first blind deaf graduate of Harvard Law School, during last night's dinner at Statler, when we accommodate disabilities, when we welcome people with all abilities to recreate with us, when there's barriers to that, it's not a challenge or a problem for the person that has a different need. The onus is on us to provide accommodation and ask ourselves, what can we do to really welcome everyone to recreate with us? And this is not just a social imperative, it's a business imperative. 1 in 5 New Yorkers lives with a disability. So when we can make recreation more accessible, we're opening up our businesses, these small businesses more often than not, to accommodate more market share. And people who are able to then recreate are bringing their family and friends. So the businesses that we've engaged with through our accessibility education initiative have increased their business by as much as 30%. So these are real tangible business benefits. In partnership with our colleagues in strategic supply management, we initiated the education program last year, partnering with 12 businesses to educate them on how to accommodate everyone, and also providing them with some adaptive equipment so that they could expand their businesses. And I'm proud to announce this morning that we will continue that program for a second year, partnering with another 12 small businesses to accommodate them in becoming more inclusive.
Sure.
The next update I have is an exciting initiative we haven't talked very much about. The Medina Art Triennial is building on this foundation of large capital improvements that we're doing in the village of Medina. There's what's called the high wall that carries the canal over a waterfall. It's been deteriorating for years. The trail surface is unsafe and needs to be rehabilitated. So this is a deep and extensive capital project. And we saw this as an opportunity to pair that largely invisible capital work with an initiative partnering with the community that could also really showcase the canal in a different light. The Medina Art Triennial is a large-scale art festival that will open in 2026. A triennial is an event that happens every 3 years. You've probably heard of biennials as well that occur every 2 years. So 2026 will be our kickoff for the Medina Art Triennial. And the headlines that you see here are showing up in art publications. So this is really opening us up to a whole new audience, putting Medina on the global stage, and it's generating a lot of buzz organically because it's something that's so exciting for this part of the country. The theme of the event is all that sustains us. And that is an homage to the Erie Canal, its maintenance, as well as the correlations with local ecologies. The art event will feature over 40 local, national, and international artists at more than a dozen locations, both indoors and out throughout the village of Medina. And we're administering this in collaboration with the the Toronto Biennial of Arts. Our advisory team includes representation from leading arts institutions like the AKG, the Birchfield Penny, and the MAG here in Buffalo, as well as New York State Council on the Arts, local representatives, business owners, and local art and community leaders. So this is a project that's very much rooted in community engagement and grows organically from the community's desire to really capitalize on its culture as an arts center. And this is influenced by Trustee Gonzalez. We're seeking to partner with universities as well as high schools in many of our projects. So what you see here is a bunch of furniture made by University of Buffalo graduate architecture students, where they partnered with local high school students in Medina using recycled materials from the Canal to create furnishings. So these are materials that came from Lockport. Our maintenance staff transported the materials to UB so that the students could use them. And this is a really important opportunity for students who are engaged in design to actually bring products to life and to see them used in communities. Next slide. Maybe not. Sorry, I was just making sure I covered everything I'm good on the slide. Thank you. So I just wanted to share a little bit about how those materials and that engagement with UB is actually playing out within the community. So what you can see on the top is the Sidney Gross Memorial. Sidney Gross was a student of architecture at UB who passed away, and her family established this memorial to keep her memory alive and to really foster additional interest in her passionate area of architecture and design. So students at UB actually designed and constructed these pieces of furniture, sculpture, art in conjunction with the local high school. And it's been installed at the Waterfront Park in Medina. And I'm told that it's also a very popular place for prom pictures and selfies by local youth in the community. And then in the bottom, what you see there is the application of the furniture that was constructed by the students. This is the Hub. It's a storefront in Medina that opened just 2 weeks ago on September 13th. And this is a place where the community can come in, learn more about the triennial, contribute to it, have dialogue about it. And the point of this engagement is to encourage discourse so that as the community builds toward welcoming upwards of 50,000 visitors next year for the triennial, they're engaged, they feel ownership, and they have agency over how that's coming together. So it's a really important part of that project. And the Hub's title is Objects of Affection, really reflecting on this space, what it can produce in terms of dialogue, creativity, community. And it also speaks to the memory of objects and canal materials that are now given a new life. So the space is designed to welcome community, artists, and residents, and to reflect on what it means to welcome the triennial next year. And my last update is on the Brockport pedestrian bridge, now named the Brockport Bicentennial Bridge. On June 13th, we opened the Bicentennial Bridge. It connects SUNY Brockport with the adjacent Empire State Trail and downtown Brockport. So this creates a path of access for community members to explore the campus and for the campus to come into town and actually, frequent those businesses. They don't need to get into a car to do so. And it's a really important piece of connectivity that is a theme throughout our efforts to revitalize the New York State canal system. A fun fact about this project that was not intentional, but something we realized as we got into the design and procurement is that all of the major elements were female-led. The capital planning, project delivery, design, construction oversight, executive sponsorship were all led by women who are experts in their field. So that's something that was coincidental, but something that we're really proud of. And the construction management was also led by a local minority-owned business. The bridge is really probably the most ambitious project that will bring to life under this effort to revitalize the canals. It's very unique in terms of its sustainability features. What you can see in the image is this black locust decking, and that was very carefully chosen because it's very resistant to decay, which means it will have to replace elements less frequently. It's got a much longer useful life. Black locust is fast growing and supports reforestation, and it does not require chemical preservatives. Along that theme of sustainability, we also planted 2 trees at the site for every 1 tree that was removed during construction. We relocated endangered mussels to a downstream portion of the project site. So the canal is not only home to invasive species, but also protected and endangered ones in complex ecology. And the design also features park-like spaces with native plantings and retention areas for storm runoff. The lighting at the site is downward facing to prevent light pollution for the surrounding neighborhood and users. And it's fully accessible. So at each of our sites, we seek to go beyond ADA or Americans with Disabilities Act compliance to actually ensure that the site is useful for everyone in the community. And on our opening day, we saw people with all different mobility devices, whether it was hand cycles or people with strollers, easily using this bridge. And that's part of what informed that sweeping design, is to allow the grade to be gentle enough for that type of use. And we also installed boulders along the bridge columns at the water's edge, which were implemented as a warning for the visually impaired, but also an opportunity to provide additional seating, so serving that dual function. Here are some images of the bridge at night, so you can see those downlighting features. I want to highlight that this project was also really steeped in deep community engagement. There's proximity to the campus and also proximity to the guard gates that you can see there, those historic canal structures. We were very careful to create safety features so that those are not accessible for college students who might be looking for some fun. So it's a very, very safe design, very intentional. We also partnered with SUNY Rockport, who is providing long-term maintenance for the bridge. So this is very much a shared responsibility, and having that buy-in really causes everyone to have some ownership in the outcome. So although we'll continue to maintain some of the core structures, Rockport will provide all of the day-to-day maintenance. Ultimately, the bridge will serve as a testament to what the canal is and what it can be in the future. We're really genuinely thankful for your support throughout this evolution that we're on, and especially for making your way to Western New York, spending time and giving your energy and focus and creativity during the World Canals Conference. It's really an honor to work with all of you. And if there are no questions, I will introduce Dave Mellen, so I'll stop there.
Thoughts, questions? I know the bridge was a journey in and of itself, but even in recent with the Wilson Foundation, one of our partners on it, it's a great source of pride for them as well. I know even reference how we use the picture in a lot of our, so great outcome there. Great outcome and incredible impact. So well worth all that extra time, effort, and energy. So well done. Anything else, Louis?
I just wanted to compliment you, Rebecca, and your teams for your work on accessibility. Fantastic.
Thank you. I think, after seeing Haven, we all share that vision that we can be a true global destination for accessible recreation. And I think we'll all come away holding that image of people just being able to do that together without barriers. So thank you.
All right. It was great to be able to see you during your presentation this time, Rebecca. Appreciate it. And the closing act in this portion of the show, Mr. David.
Thanks, Rebecca. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, trustees, Niagara and Canal colleagues, and members of the public. So today I'm going to give a recap of the navigation season to date. I'm going to take a brief look ahead at our planned winter work. And I'm also going to talk about a few critical projects and other work that are supporting our overarching revitalization efforts. Next slide, please. So the navigation season, it's been a good season. It really has been dominated by a lot to do with bicentennial. There's been so much positivity, so many events, so much operational support, a lot of these events. And you can just see the energy, yesterday, for example, there's just a lot surrounding the canals at this time, I feel. So a very positive season, but that said, there have been some challenges, particularly related to the weather early in the season and drought conditions that we're going through right now. From a vessel passage perspective, we've had about 47,000 passages, lockages, or through lift bridges to date. That is consistent with prior years when you consider the delayed opening we had because of the weather. I think that the traffic is equal or perhaps a little better than it's been. So the interest, I think, is there. Commercial traffic is up a little bit, largely due to some stone shipments that are happening on the Champlain Canal. It's up 30-some%, but just recognize that the total number of commercial passages there is around between 300 and 400 total. Okay, so small part of the whole. The traffic good. We started off the year and knowing full well that we were going to have extended season. We were going to close on November 3rd to support the flotilla and the Seneca Chief, all that's going on this week. Before the season got underway, the weather settled in. We were getting some really high flows. And so before the season even started, we announced the phased opening. Where everything east of Lyons, in essence, was going to be opened in phases, and west of Lyons was good in terms of water. And then a second event happened before the season was planned to start, and that was the failure of one of our movable dams and some significant seepage that was happening in the St. Johnsville area. So all of that had to be dealt with. The high water and the high flows and the danger to boaters, that's, somewhat old hat for us. We know how to manage that. The repairs and this with which they were taken care of in the public interest was amazing. A real team effort, Niagara and Canals and our contractors. But by June 25th, all of that had settled. And so we had the repairs to the seepage, we had the repairs to the movable dam, and phase opening happened, and by late June, we were back in action. Kudos to the team. Currently, we're in a bit of a drought condition, so we are challenged on the system relative to maintaining navigation levels in certain areas more than others. And some of our reservoirs are getting quite low, and getting some funny relative to recreation uses because of the water. But I think, there's only so much we can do. I think our team has done an excellent job in terms of managing the water and doing the best that we can for our customers. But we are challenged by lack of water. Hopefully this week that'll change. Staffing pretty much remains constant at a 10% vacancy for our permanent staff. So we've got about 400, almost 480 permanent employees on the payroll right now. Our seasonal, and that's been consistent year to year, just normal turnover. Seasonal staffing continue to struggle a little in pockets across the system. Some areas, particularly the more rural areas, we just have been challenged year after year. We've tried multiple things, and but we are able to cover the work with the staff we have, but it results in overtime, or it's just this kind of stuff. So staffing's similar to last year, I would say. A lot of improvement on the training end of things, coordinating heavily with BOCES and Hudson Valley Community College to provide our folks with some different types of training, heavy equipment, basic electrical and welding training. So, a lot, the maintenance end of things this season has been good. There's continuous improvement happening under the hood, some challenges, and the overarching is this bicentennial season. That's kind of big picture. So all good in terms of looking back, looking ahead to this winter. The takeaway is that we're in good shape, basically. It's a somewhat straightforward work plan this winter. We're again, planning efforts have been underway now for months. We're in very good shape to start things off because we're losing a few weeks because of the extended season. We're really gonna wanna get on this work as quickly as possible, so as soon as, early November comes, those movable dams will be lifted out of the water, there'll be water in certain parts of the system. Removing all our navigation aids, our buoys, and then starting the winter work in earnest. The pump outs are kind of the highlight, that's not the only work that's happening. We have 5 new pump outs starting this year and 3 continuing the work from last year. Various locations across the system and all of our locks and lift bridges, which that alone comprises on the order of almost 70 work sites. There's work plans in place at all those locations as well, plan of attack, so to speak, to enhance and improve the lock or fix various components. So other point to note is a lot of dredging and UDS work happening in our Utica section. Utica section is the need for dredging is probably 75% of the overall system need in the Utica section. So there's a lot of that kind of work happening. A lot of that work happens in the winter, so mechanical dredging and cleaning out some of our upland disposal sites where the dredging material goes. Heavy lift there this winter in Utica. So we're in good shape for the winter. Last point I'll make on the winter is every year we've seen, year in, year out that come January, February, that there tends to be a spike in safety related incidents. It has to do with the working conditions, the weather, the cold, the ice, all that. So we are partnering internally with our EHS team to attempt to get ahead of that. We've of course looked at this in past year. We're going to try to step outside the box and do something a little more aggressive to really try to do the best that we can in terms of safety for our employees. Okay, next slide. So this is basically progress continues on the fleet modernization. It's a look back then now kind of thing. We've talked about the tugs. We've got the Grasso obviously in place now. That's sitting in Canal side right now. The tug Rome is coming shortly, later this year, early next year. We've got 2 additional tugs all to be delivered by the end of 2027. But in terms of our fleet, we have approximately 85 working vessels. Now, that's not the entire marine fleet, but that's your large and medium-sized vessels, including the tugs. And since 2017, we have been able to replace 65% of that fleet. So about 55 units, new vessels in there. So our fleet now, if you just look at it from a high-level perspective, you may be aware that we are piloting an electric workboat, a full-time marine. The full-time marines provide us. That also is at Canal side. That's the vessel in the lower picture there, obviously. And the thing with this is that we have piloted this thing in our Utica section in the Silver Beach area. And it is not, I would say at this point, it is not the answer. It doesn't cover all of our work needs. However, it's clear right out of the gate that it's a different type of work vessel. It's very quiet and it supports communication and safety related communication on the site. So rather than loud vessel A, loud vessel B, you've got this quiet thing. It just changes the environment. And so, in certain situations where there's recharging available, you pretty much plug it in and go home. And when you come in, you have enough charge to work the entire next day. So very positive there, promising. I think over time that I could see a portion of our fleet turning into this a portion. So a lot has happened on the fleet front, and a lot of our work is on the water. So I think we're really making progress here. Next slide. So this is the Madison Dam project, and I feel that this project is somewhat of a symbolic project. When you consider all that we've talked about relative to the big picture of infrastructure needs at canals, condition of the system, the risks associated with it, that whole narrative and how we basically have framed canal revitalization, longer term look ahead. I mean, how to turn the condition of the system to a better place. So, a project management team at NACO's been helping on this. They've been developing programs, one of which is a dam rehabilitation program, but programs across the canal to be ready, better ready to deliver capital work. And so there's also been efforts relative to interactions with the state DOD and additional funding. As all this comes together, this project is being funded with DOD money. It's a significant project for us. It's at the top of our list in terms of condition, risk. This is in Madison County, and this reservoir sits above Colgate University and the town of Hamilton. It's a high hazard dam, and basically we're going to rehabilitate it. It's nearly 200 years old. It's at the top of our list. It's kind of getting us out of the gate on this larger revitalization program, and hopefully with continued assistance from the state of New York in these types of projects and continue. Design's complete. This thing is out for bid now. Construction is starting in earnest in early 2026. It will be complete in 2028. One noteworthy point is that the reservoir is going to have to be lowered by about 10 feet to perform the work safely and efficiently. And that lowering is going to last almost the duration of the project. So getting that out of the gate, bids are due October 16th, and we expect to be back in front of the board asking for approval to award that construction contract. So symbolic project, a real good thing for the community and for us. Okay, next slide. So this is the last slide here. This is just some insight into our efforts relative to continuing to explore new ideas. And it's aimed at the overall improvement of the work that we do. Now, in this particular case, we're talking about canal embankments. The 130 miles of embankments that basically hold back water. And in some cases, it happens to hold back water right in front of a community, like you see on the top, and other areas are more rural. And so we've talked about this before, the concept of vegetation on the embankments and trees on the embankments and the risk that brings and presents, and also the importance of inspections. So we have a lot of different ways that we're inspecting these embankments, and in a lot of cases, particularly out west, we have a bank walker program where people are looking at the embankments every single day, visiting every single seat that we know of and making sure it hasn't changed. So this is us trying to have our eyes open, looking at technology and anything else that will help us to keep things safe. So we have basically two pilot projects here that I just wanted to share here. And one is the installation of a fiber optic line. Okay, this is a fiber optic line that's installed right adjacent to the trail. It's only about a foot deep, and in essence, this 1,500-foot line was installed a little over a week ago in Spencerport, New York. And what it will do is it will monitor sound and vibrations. And what will happen is the software that's attached to this will basically act like AI technology. In other words, it will learn over time what the vibration and sound is, or for example, water naturally passing through a culvert beneath this line, which is normal and no concern. Or for example, a vehicle traveling on the trail itself, which in most cases is no concern. And it will also identify when there's a seat or a change, what has been. And this is all connected to a dashboard. We're working with Stantec, one of our consultants on this. And the dashboard will, in theory, in this 1,500-foot section, notify us when there's any change. We will immediately send staff out to take a look at it. So We're piloting this. The pilot project is going to be about a year long. We're excited about this. We'll see how that goes. But you can see, that's a constant 24/7 monitoring now. Now we've got the information in our fingertips immediately. The other pilot has to do with goats. And what this basically is this is the concept of let's put goats on the embankment. Goats, I've learned about goats through this, but they eat everything, grasses, shrubs, woody plants, weeds. Okay, so they'll eat anything. And let's put the goats on the embankments and have the goats keep the embankments. I won't say free of vegetation, but the vegetation low enough so that we can better inspect the embankments. And the comparative analysis is that what does a better job at keeping these embankments clear of vegetation, goats or labor, something like that. So we're doing this analysis. He's got 4 acres, predetermined there, and we're having we've had the goats on these things, and pretty much goats need water, they need shelter, and they need a fence to keep them in the area. That's pretty much all we need. We have a local farmer, a Kaizen Ridge farm, helping us out with this. Study's not done yet, but at first blush, the goats did a great job. They, recognize that I'm an engineer. But the initial takeaway is that the goats seem pretty suited to this kind of work, and they're doing a good job. The jury's not out yet. This is potentially a natural solution. We know already that the cost is generally lower if the goats take care of the vegetation, but the productivity is slower. Yes, but the productivity is slower, may not be at all, depending upon how we manage the thing. So, of course, always have to be, we've got to discuss all these types of concepts with our labor workforce, which of course we will. But 2 things that we're considering that may help propel us forward relative to fortifying our embankments. So that concludes my
More time than goats typically get around the board too. David, we appreciate it. Any other questions? All right, thanks so much. Again, team, great job. The recap, drive by, the overview, the summary, a lot to be proud of for Power Authority Canals and the great work that you continue to do across the state, but in this region as well. So we head down the whole stretch. Let's pivot to the business of the business. And to jumpstart that, he's making his way and getting organized, our CFO, Adam Barson.
Good morning, Chairman, trustees, member colleagues, members of the public. Just to give some updates from where we last left off last week, we had a robust discussion on how the year was going. We did not yet have the August numbers reflected. We have them here. Again, another strong month. Ahead of what the budget was. Also, this is an update. Last week we had said that it was widely predicted that the Fed would cut interest rates, which they did 25 basis points, and the market's looking for 2 more cuts by the end of the year. A lot of concern about a tight and weak labor market, together with still some concerns about the impact of the tariffs, which we get to see the full effect, whether it be in the in prices for goods or other impacts throughout the economy. So there's a lot of watching of the data as we go forward. The yield curve has significantly shifted as well from where we were last year, where it had been actually an inverted yield curve, where lower rates are higher than longer rates. We're now seeing a steepening of the curve where lower rates are gone lower, but yet the long part of the curve has actually gone higher. So that is something else that we're watching and making sure we incorporate into all of our planning as well. So we continue to go ahead in terms of revenues being strong. Some of these are recurring trends, which are good. Others are more of a non-recurring or based on other factors such as generation flow and weather. We'll talk a little bit about that. The end of the year projections really haven't changed much in terms of still seeing being over $100 million over where our budget was. As I mentioned before, 50 of that is really coming from the operating side, the other the non-operating side having to do with the higher interest rates for longer. And again, I'll get into a little bit of the trends now, because we are looking at things that people are planning for next year in our 40-year plan. If we go to the next slide. So it really tells a little story about what we saw during this year. We do modeling every single day to tell us where we see our the merchant portfolio, which makes up about a third of the generation that you see out of the hydro plants as well as our fossil fuel plants. And at the beginning of the year, where we saw prices or generation, we were actually running below where the budget was. And as we progressed through the year, and then we got into the summer months, you would see that the model started picking up as we had actuals and saw that the prices were increasing, our generation numbers getting stronger, and some other impacts of what is actually happening in the entire region. So that increase in generation revenues, you can see just in terms of actual numbers on the right side, as we spoke about in past meetings about how we look at heating degree days, cooling degree days. You can see that for June and July, both months were significantly higher in terms of cooling degree days than the normal, and prices were also much higher as a result of that increased demand, but also in terms of what we're seeing tightening of supply. And as we look into the numbers, to try to give clues as to what's going on there, you can see the makeup of all that over increase in margins for our generating facilities, broken out by the attribution towards the hydro facilities versus BG and the heater plants, as well as HTP. What we can notice here is that while they're all significant drivers, BG in particular has had like a record year. It's been called on more often, and as well as some of the bigger plants because of the high temperatures that we had in the summer. But we're also seeing, if you look at HTP, that did a lot worse. And the question is, well, why is that doing worse and BG is doing a lot better? So one of the things that we're seeing now is that we are not getting the imports of power that we would normally get when there are spikes in demand. So other regions, whether it be Canada, PJM, are also experiencing their own high demand. So the availability of this extra power is not there when it's needed. So it's giving a clue as to the needs going forward that we're going to have to pay a lot of attention on, making sure that we have enough generating assets to meet the needs for New York as we go forward. So we're starting to actually see that in the numbers. Any questions on any of that? Okay, and as we go, talking about the theme today with the canals, and as Rebecca and Dave have, pointed out, these are the major projects that we are undertaking. We track these every month. We provided materials. As you can see there, as Dave was mentioning, at the top of the list is the Madison Reservoir. That is a high priority project, and we were very fortunate to get the state to acknowledge that as a high priority project to improve the infrastructure, and was the basis of getting that first $50 million. We're also happy to see that we got the second $50 million this year, and given the governor's comments, which are very supportive about commitment and a partnership with the state, we're certainly asking for that $50 million to continue out into the future. Hopefully, maybe get a multi-year commitment. We can. We're showing. We'll make sure he's hearing this. But we're, we're really making the argument that if we do have a clear sight into a forward commitment, we can do things more programmatically and potentially do it more efficiently, save money, and get a lot more done, as we're trying to undertake very critical infrastructure projects, as well as Rebecca pointing out that we made great progress on the pedestrian bridge, and we're just starting to the first phase of that parking lot and some of the others. Any questions on any of this?
Oh,
Okay. Turning to SSM, we are very excited about all the things we're doing for supplier diversity, a number of great events. We're going to actually pull some events forward and add some between now and the end of the year. We recently held a focused event together with our partners at LRC Construction regarding the headquarters project, where we brought in LRC and all local small businesses and MWB providers to provide them with opportunities to participate in that project so that they could get a lot of the work that's coming out of there. And there's been a significant commitment on LRC to provide a high percentage of participation from the MWBE and small business and veterans organizations participation in that major project. But together with ESD, we're also working on a program to build capacity, build out the minority suppliers to be able to have what the capabilities and what they need to be able to compete effectively on future projects we're having. So this is a program where they get certification, they go through. We expect them to be graduated next year during 26. And hopefully that will enable them to participate and get a bigger share of some of our major construction projects as we go forward. So very happy with the partnership we have with ESD and some of the other state agencies, and want to continue building on that theme. Next. Quick update on our major ERP project. Good progress there. We're actually getting towards the end of what I call the design phase. And great partnership between Rob and his team, Karina and her team, great leadership and collaboration across the organization. Make sure that everybody's needs are being met, people are working together, we're setting ourselves up for success so that we can not only get the new system in, but position ourselves to take advantage of the new technology that's quickly becoming accessible, such as the use of AI, machine learning, and other tools that will enable us to do our work more efficiently, spend less time processing things and more time analyzing and providing decision support for management. And everything seems to be on schedule there. Next, just a quick update as well. We were met with all the rating agencies. We have 2 of those back. All affirmed our ratings. We're waiting for the other 2. All the numbers and metrics that we're using to maintain that level of high ratings are still in check and doing well. So we've gotten really good feedback. Some questions and discussion around the nuclear announcement. So a little, hand holding or ledge holding there, but we were able to explain how we see this all working. And I think they're very interested and want to be kept abreast, but they do see the need and understand why the state is taking the path that it is. So good feedback as well there.
So significant pushback or challenge, on that or anything else at this point?
Not based on the discussions we've had, as long as, there's an understanding of, how risk will be managed and things of that nature.
Yeah, great.
They just want to be kept abreast.
Excellent.
And follow.
Yeah, obviously important that they're real partners, key partners. So it's even more so now than, they have been historically. So, stay along. Excellent.
Next we'll come to, the issue of the hydrant.
Before we jump, any other questions? We just had finance committee last week, but anything else, for Adam, or we pivot to the rate change? Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, there's everyone knows that back in February, we had started a process to do an adjustment for our hydro rates with respect to our preference power customers. Those are those customers, as was mentioned earlier in the day, whether it be the 51 munis and co-ops, neighboring states, those communities all get the benefit of the most favorable rates, the lowest rates we have to offer, which are in statute. We have a commitment to make sure that those rates are at the lowest possible rates that we can do. We had started that process back in February. There was some issues raised and concerns that maybe too much too soon, Can we look at it? Can we make it better? So we did, we pulled back and, recently within the last, let's say maybe in the past month or so, we re-engaged with all the various customer groups, really back and forth to find out creative ways in which we can make this, better and more easier to implement, over time. And we've got a tremendous working relationship with all those groups. We came back with a lot of good ideas how to make this all work for everyone. So we do have a situation today where we've had a term sheet that has been signed by these customer groups. And they're enthusiastic, I would say they're enthusiastic in support of the plan that is being set forth, that we're going to ask you to approve today. They filed a notice of proposed rulemaking instead of the 60-day comment period. The question is, maybe on your mind, so well, how did we get there? What did we do to make it different? Really working with them, and I would say there's a number of different factors. There are a lot of things we have to change in the contract as to how the rates work, the methodology going forward, things that we need, things that they need. So there's a lot of trade-offs on that with that respect, but really we want to make it more simplified, more transparent, and easier for them to verify and validate when we talk about where our costs are and how to make sure that they understand how this is going forward. But really the main areas were that we went from a 4-year phase-in of the rate plan that we proposed back in February to a 6-year phase-in. So that is really going to help levelize and make sure that there's no, higher impact earlier than expected. And then there's some things we did around the methodology of how we share with them capacity payments that we get and use those capacity payments to offset some of the cost increases. So that will also be used to cushion the impact of higher rates, higher costs, and be as an offset. So between those two major factors, we're able to come up with this plan that you see here today, which really starts at this $14.57. It goes up by about $1.69 per year, and the impact on customer bills for the, I would say, average customer, according to DPS or national surveys, around 600 kilowatts per month, is no more than $1 a month increase on their bill, which we only make up a portion of their total bill. So our rates, when you look at our rates, is only one component. They get bills from other IOUs for and other charges that they have to do and pass on to all of their customers. So the response we've gotten, like I said, is very supportive. There's a process right now to socialize that with all of the individual municipal utilities and those co-ops to get really into the details around it. And when we talk about these contractual changes, we'll take the term sheet, we'll be incorporating that into these contracts, and each and every one of those contracts has to be changed exactly the same way. They all have to work together. So that will be a process we'll be doing as we move forward. But I think we're in a really good spot there. And as you saw before, when we talked to Jairo and everyone else, and the whole theme of today, the importance of this hydropower and what it means for the state, what it means for these communities, nobody recognizes that more than these community co-ops, host communities, understand that they need to preserve that power for decades to come. And they understand that our next gen Niagara project at 1.1 billion is a major cost that has to be paid for, but a cost that they believe is worth it to preserve the power that they get today.
Right.
So I think, any other questions on that? Because otherwise I would ask. This is just the timeline here. So 60 days, we'll be coming back. There'll be some hearings, there'll be comments, and then we'll be coming back for approval at the December 9th meeting based on all that input and those comments. But any other questions before we go on? Or
Just, thank you again. There is a process here. It's a very different process than the investor-owned utilities and the creativity and the talking and the engagement. So, excited to see what the next 60 days bring. And, thanks again for keeping us posted.
Yeah, good work navigating, a little bumpy road there, unexpected, and So good work to you and everyone. Just anything to add?
The team has just done a great job, and we have a historically great relationship with this customer group. And we're aligned here, so it's all good.
Yeah, and I think, this has been really an authority-wide effort. Obviously help from, finance folks in terms of, the numbers and the modeling and all of that, but goes way beyond that. Maribel and her team maintaining the customer relationships that they have, and that constant dialogue is really important, as well as our communications group, our government relations people as well, getting engaged and helping to support from every different way. So this is really an authority-wide effort.
All right, with that, if we could ask for a motion to approve the recommendations brought forward. B, Lewis, second. Unless there's any other questions, all in favor, aye. Dennis, you good?
I'm good, thanks, John.
And none opposed, motion carried. And great job.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Well done, great report. And look forward to seeing that sustained through the end of the year. All right, hustling up, a little risk and resiliency update. Alexis.
Good morning, trustees, colleagues, and members of the public. Keeping with one of today's themes of reflections on and a celebration of the Canal's anniversary, my report today is going to provide an overview of the Canal's risk management journey and the progress that we have made through actions that were taken and have taken to improve its risk profile since it joined the authority in 2017. I'll frame that progress in the context of risk response strategies. At the authority, we use a combination of response strategies, ranging from mitigation to transfer, to acceptance, to avoidance, and to opportunity pursuit, in order to have a comprehensive approach to risk management and to help us optimize the use of resources. This balanced approach not only helps protect us from financial, operational, and reputational impacts, but it also allows us to appropriately execute on opportunities to drive benefits. In turn, this builds stakeholder confidence, and it keeps us aligned with our strategic goals, which in turn, again, keeps the organization resilient. So, great, next slide, perfect. Let me share some of the ways in which Canals has made significant progress. So from a mitigation standpoint, Canals has built a project portfolio that's heavily concentrated on state of good repair. There are several hundred projects, in fact, and they're addressing the highest risk assets. We get a great example before from Dave Mellen around the Madison Dam rehabilitation, and that's just one of the platform. NIFA and state funds available for capital investment have supported this mitigation journey. For those who attended the World Canals Conference yesterday, you did hear Governor Hochul share her excitement and enthusiasm and her support for the state appropriations of $50 million in funding for the canals. And then along with NIFA's funding, which has increased over the years, the Canals capital investment program is 3 times greater than what it was in 2017. Shared services with NIFA have been providing support and best practices to the Canals team. And so last week in our Risk and Resiliency Committee, Dave again, gave us a great overview of the growth and the progress achieved in 4 specific areas. The first was asset management, and that is aligned with building the program along with NIFA that is ISO certified, which we celebrated at the last meeting. Dam safety, which in addition to risk mitigation, also helps bolster our compliance with FERC and DEC regulations. We talked about environmental health and safety progress. And finally, we talked about the build out of stakeholder relations management, that helps build trust, but it also helps to preserve and even enhance our reputation. In terms of risk transfer and sharing with other parties, Canals has enhanced collaboration with local emergency management and state agencies. That's with respect to things like emergency action plans, should there be an event or an incident. We've implemented insurance policies, both general liability and property damage, which were not in place before Canals joined NIFA. They were still insured. And then divestments of assets like terminal walls, old feeder canals, and even certain real property. An example of which is we're working right now with the Onondaga County to divest the Syracuse Town Harbor. So it's a benefit to the community, and it's also a risk management benefit to Niagara and canals. Moving on now, in order to deem that we can accept a risk, we first have to be able to identify and assess it. And we need to do that in a consistent way, and we need to follow a common standard to our other business units. So we are really happy to share that Canals now has a full and complete set of enterprise, operational, and asset risk registers. And they're using scoring methodologies and processes that are consistent with NIPA, and they're provided shared services for the risk and resiliency team. You'll also recall that we developed a Canals specific risk appetite to gauge those exposures against, so that it wasn't being unintentionally compared to NIPA with a very different business model. And the enhanced governance and the established robust reporting and monitoring that they put in place are also helping to make sure that we're within our acceptance levels for risks. We know that we've increased our inspection rates by over 180% since 2017. That's pretty astounding. And we've been working to leverage new technologies. We've heard about drones and robotics in the past, but Dave also, so glad you're here today, gave an overview about the future in terms of seep detection devices that are helping us in more real time have the data that we need to monitor the health of the assets and whether there could be an impending issue that we should be responding to more promptly. That brings me to now the risk response of avoidance. We've talked about our Vision 2030 long-term strategy, prioritizing critical infrastructure projects that focus on our system resilience and improve public safety. These are supplemented by third-party engineering studies that Canals has underwent, literally investigating every single asset. That helps with sub-prioritization within the portfolio to make sure, again, that we're getting to the riskiest assets first. And that is helping us to potentially avoid any incident in the future as we work through that portfolio of projects. Another great example is the water gauging systems across canals that are helping us to accurately control water levels, and this helps to avoid any potential for flooding. Saving the best for last, Canals is taking opportunities aligned with our mission. And we've heard a lot over the course of the morning about the bicentennial celebration, the World Canals Conference being hosted this week. That's increasing public interaction. It's increased vessel traffic. It's brought a lot of international visitors to the area. We've extended the navigation system. Well, that comes with a potential strain on resources, and the enhanced usage could, of course, increase risk. It's bringing great community value, and it's also bringing us fresh ideas and outstanding best practices to consider as we integrate and discuss with other members of the Canals community. The last thing I want to mention is something we've also talked a lot about, which is partnering with third parties to increase public benefits. And one of the ways that we've really just gone leaps and bounds was with our accessibility education program and the steps that we're taking there to grow the reach of the canals to more participants, which is helping the communities and the businesses in the surrounding areas as well. As always, like to end, here are 3 key things to know. Number 1, there's no shortage of work being done across canals in all risk response strategies. And as a result, their profile has substantively improved. Number 2, risk management has become a part of Canal's day-to-day operations, and their culture of risk management continues to mature. And finally, number 3, Canals has just come a long way since 2017, and they've positioned themselves well for future risk mitigation activities in the future. With that, I would open the floor to any questions.
Appreciate it. Alexis, it's impossible. I think I might be the only trustee. Were you here at 17?
No, I wasn't here in 17, but when I came, it was a little
Yeah,
worrisome.
we talked then about reinventing canals. There's a different connotation, different context, but there's no question as we celebrate canals today, it's a night and day, totally different organization. So kudos to everyone for the great work that's been done. Leadership, synergies, shared services, risk management, everything. Yeah, talking about making the world a better place. You guys have clearly done that when it comes to canals over the last 8 years. So thanks for that great recap, Alexis. Appreciate it. Okay. Coming down the stretch run here. This is back. Chairs weren't meant to be moved. So we had a couple committee meetings last week. Give you a brief refresh and reminder on the actions that came out of Finance Committee before Cecily does the same with risk and resiliency. We had 4 items that as a Finance Committee we agreed to bring forward to the full board today for approval. Staying with the Canal's theme, first of which was our quarterly release of $27 million to support Canal's operation. The second item was a $53 million authorization appropriation over the next 5 years to support acquisition of fleet vehicles and a handful of particular vendors and contract awards. Third item, workforce development related, total of 12 million. DOL workforce training initiative, 7 million. DOL support services fund, 5 million. Continued great investment there and great outcomes and work being done to further enable workforce development initiatives. And last, picking up on renewables and as we're leaning in and leading the charge there, approval of a $100 million intercompany loan agreement with our subsidiary, the New York Renewable Energy Development Holdings Corporation. So each of those was recommended for approval at today's meeting. So I'd ask for motion to approve those recommendations for approval. Michael, thank you very much. Louis, second. Let's all in favor. Aye. Aye. Dennis, thank you very much. All right. Terrific. And then we also said that was followed by good discussion, led by Cecily, Alexis, in terms of risk and resiliency. So want to give us a brief recap there, if you would, Cecily?
I think Alexis did a good job already, so I'm going to be brief. We did have great presentations at our Risk and Resiliency Committee meeting, which happened after the Finance Committee. Alexis presented on 4 agenda items: mid-year enterprise risk assessment results, a merchant hedging strategy and credit risk update, cybersecurity update, and a dive into how shared services has benefited the canals. I think she presented that as well today. We heard from our Vice President of Enterprise and Operational Risk, Tom, and he gave us some great information. So 2 NYPA enterprise risks had slight increases, all remained within acceptable risk range and within risk appetite. The Canal's enterprise risk profile had 2 risk scores shift down from high to medium, and as a result, there are no Canal's enterprise risks in the high risk residual range for the first time since 2017, when the Canals joined NYPA. A pilot methodology for a way to capture opportunities in relation to enterprise risk and risk appetite is also presented, with support from Enterprise Portfolio Management Office. Risk management will be expanding the pilot to the rest of the enterprise risk portfolio. I apologize for reading, but I just want to make sure we get the highlights. We had a presentation from Senior Director of Market and Credit Risk, Earl, who presented an update focused on the risk team's oversight role, ensuring governance, compliance, and conformance to the merchant hedging strategy. He noted the addition of 2 S&P rated A- entities to our portfolio for enhanced diversification. We had Senior Director of Energy Portfolio Management, Dennis, presented on the execution of our merchant hedging strategy. And as we head into Q4, they anticipate reaching the targeted hedging percentages for 2026 to 2028. And he was a wealth of information in that regard. Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer, or CISO, Vic, presented the cybersecurity update, noted that despite increasing overall threats and vulnerabilities that we see in the external environment, Niagara Canal has not been impacted. He has a great team that are proactive with controls and mitigation measures that are already in place. Dave Mellen, Senior Vice President, Regional Manager, presented on risk management. And I want to just talk a little bit about that because I think it was very informational when we had our risk and resiliency committee, because the key that I took away from it is the benefit of shared services, number one. And number two, how Dave and his team have managed to I don't know, collectively get all of the information with regard to canals, what it looks like, what its history was, what needs to be done in the future. And it's there. It's there in black and white. It's information that can go wherever it needs to go in terms of why we're doing what we're doing. Madison Dam project being the number one, because the information's there. It supports what we need to do. It explains what we need to do and why we need to do it. So the areas that benefit from shared services are asset management, dam safety, environmental health and safety, and public, government, and media relations. Shared services equal information, and information is the opening for everything that needs to go forward from there. That was about it. We adopted our minutes from our previous meeting, and we talked about our next meeting taking place in 2026.
Great, thanks, Cecily. Appreciate that very much. Last item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Hopefully, everyone's had an opportunity to review that. Customary combination of reports that set a lot of key and critical economic development awards and allocations that Maribel referenced earlier, other contracts and meeting minutes, etc. Unless there's any other questions rather relative to any of those materials, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. So Michael, thank you.
I'll second.
Cecily, thanks very much. Any questions, anyone? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thanks, Dennis. Long range approval, we appreciate that. Unless there's anything else to come before us today, I'm pleased and proud to call this wonderful session and celebration to a close. I thank everyone once again for the extra time, effort, commitment, and energy to spend 48 hours with us in the Buffalo Niagara region. Hopefully we made your time and your stay well worth your while, and we're excited to host you and look forward to doing it again sooner than not. But thank you again for everything, and a great job, everyone. Well done. Those of you continuing to stay, enjoying the Canal celebration, do so and have a blast for the next couple of days. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Laurie, thank you. Second, excuse me, B, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Thanks very much, everyone. Go Bills.
Go
All right, everybody. Good job. Thank you.
Safe home, everyone.